So next we have a question from Beck Waldron _ who says, how do you cope with burnout without compromising time dedicated to study?
Ooh.
I think just kind of burnout in general. How do you deal with that? I think you've written some blog posts about this recently.
I have, yeah. I took a lot of time out over the past couple of months, and I've basically got back to sort of full productivity now. I actually think that taking time out was absolutely necessary in doing that, though. I'm not sure if it is possible to recover from burnout and maintain your level of productivity. Obviously, you can work more efficiently, and so you work for less time, but you still get the same output. But you need time to recalibrate yourself to do that. I don't know. Have you experienced that at all?
I think I've been quite lucky in that I've managed to avoid the whole burnout thing, and I think one of the main reasons for that is that anytime I get to the point where I feel like, okay, this is not going anywhere, I sort of do my very best to kind of cut down on the amount that I'm doing, because I think what I realized is that ultimately studying, like, what's the point really? Like, what are we optimizing for? For getting a slightly higher percentage in our exam that no one is going to care about 10 years from now.
Yeah.
So that was kind of one thing, like recognizing and in a way sort of treating exams more as a game. That was a tip that one of my friend's grandmothers sent to her by email, saying that she's like a super liberal in America and stuff, and her whole thing was just treat exams as like it's a game that you're playing with yourself. It's not a multiplayer game. You're not competing against other people. You're just kind of playing with yourself, and that sounds weird, but it's just
wow, it sounds great.
So kind of those are my ways of helping avoid burnout. But I also take loads of study breaks, and kind of what we said at the point about focus, that I don't beat myself up when I go and take a break. Yeah,
I mean, in terms of because I have experienced it before, and I think at Oxbridge in particular, because the terms are so short and intense, if you don't manage your self-care basically over those periods, you kind of burn out every term, really. I have always needed to take time out to recalibrate how I'm approaching the work. So in terms of can you deal with it and still maintain the same amount of studying, I think that you could, but you do need to accept there needs to be a period where you actively sit back and evaluate. You need to look and say, right, what were we doing that was not working and was making me stressed and making me burned out? And you're going to need at least a day to actively look at that and then draw up some kind of new plan. You can't expect to do it on the hoof. I don't think it's possible, but I think you can limit the amount of time with some kind of effective planning. So whether that means following somebody's checklist, or if that means almost treating it like you are a company and you're like, the product that I'm offering is studying, and the output is the grade that you get. I think, right, as a company, let's do some product analysis. How can we optimize so that we don't need to spend so many hours making the product, and kind of almost like viewing it in that calculating, objective manner that a product manager would a product. I think it's not healthy to view yourself that way the whole time, but it can be productive when you are evaluating.
So this was something that my brother and I discussed in one of our podcast episodes. It was, I think the title of the podcast was Treating Your Personal Life Like a Business. And the framing of it was that we felt that a lot of gains that we made in our personal life came from treating it more like a business.
Yeah.
And sort of the corollary to that is that sort of a lot of the gains in business came from treating it more like a personal life.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed.
And so on the treating your personal life like a business front, another thing that we found helpful in that was kind of setting a hourly rate that you were employed at. So, at that point, is it worth me driving out of my way to save £2 on this piece of toilet paper when I can just buy it on Amazon Prime?
Yeah, it's costing your time. Yeah,
absolutely. And so I really like this idea of kind of treating yourself as if you are a company, and therefore you need to.
The shareholders demand answers. You're taking way too much time to get that certain grade. We can halve the time and make the workforce happier.
How do you identify signs of burnout?
I'm again quite bad at this. I think it's basically are you not enjoying the stuff that you were doing alongside your work in the way that you used to? So whether that is playing an instrument or doing sport or meeting with friends, do you find that you are not enjoying them because you're just tired and you just want time to reset? I would find that I didn't want to go and be social with people. I just needed time to be me and read a book on my own. And I think when that happens regularly and you're just not taking active pleasure in the things that you used to, you have to think, right, something's not quite right here. You're mentally your mental RAM is the way I like to think about it, has been overflowing, and you need to sort of purge the RAM, bring it back to the base level that you can possibly manage, and then repopulate it.
Oh, okay. So that makes a lot of sense, because I can think of a few examples in the last few years where, I think it was when it was like peak applying for university season. So kind of my business of teaching courses and stuff was like, getting sort of 50 emails a day of support and things like that. And then kind of having the degree alongside and having the YouTube channel, that was at a point where, people would come over to my room and I would think, I'm supposed to be hosting these people, but I really need to get to all these emails. And that was such an uncomfortable place to be.
It's almost like your work's bled over into everything else, and it kind of sours the joy of everything else that you're doing.